author Maryanne Traylen and her dog Ned, and we're going to talk about her book A Dog on the Downs, which is an appreciation of a unique part of Kent's North Downs. So perhaps we could start by defining the area.
Yes, well, I think it's quite nice for people who live in Folkestone to be aware of how close they are to the Downs. The area that this book covers was the area that the Up on the Downs partnership scheme were covering when they funded the first edition, and it stretches in the east from Kingsdown, where the White Cliffs begin, and they pass through Dover and Capel to Folkestone, and then it goes slightly north. So the eastern bit is, as to say, Kingsdown, and then it goes. The extreme west part is Newbarn, which is just to the west of Etching Hill, and to the north, a little bit north of Denton, and obviously to the south is Folkestone and the sea. So that is the approximate area that the book looks at.
And it's a sort of record of you and Ned the dog's wanderings in that area over the course of a year, isn't it?
It is a year, but it took a lot longer than that, I think, to discover the places, and we still carry on discovering them. It looks like quite a small remit, but in actual fact, every time we go out and do a walk, there's always some new path to discover. But broadly, the other photographs and the text were done in a year.
Yes, so it covered all the seasons.
Yes, that's right.
So why with the dog? The dog appears in most of the photos.
Well, he was a sort of inspiration behind the whole idea, because when I got the dog and I saw him running around, it's a beautiful black, although he's whining at the moment, he doesn't normally whine.
He wants to be interviewed as well, I think.
I think so, yes.
He's licking the back of my neck now.
But
he's
so
very eager to be part of the act, aren't he?
So why with him is, as I say, that he looked, fantastic. This black creature darting around against the white, against the gold of the sunset on the white, against the green of the hills. And he kind of brought the whole thing to life, really. He seemed to bring the landscape to life, and he complements it. And he's not, although we compared him to a Gormley constant, and he is the constant. He's a moving constant as opposed to a static one.
I mean, he's literally moving throughout the work, isn't he? Both visually and in the writing.
Yes, he is. He's also quite often posing static, because he seems to have got used to the fact that once I've clicked the camera, he can move off. So he does quite often arrive in a scene, and whether it is for that reason or because sometimes he likes to just stand there and keep his mouth open, because if he's hot, his tongue is the way that he will cool off. So he stands and sort of faces into a breeze, whether it's off the sea or on the downs. But it's useful to have a constant because the landscape is changing, and not only for perspective, but also contrast and blend.
Although he features in the writing is not about him, is it? It's not a book about dogs, despite that, is it?
No, it's not a book about dogs. It's a book about the response of a dog walker to the landscape, which is deepened by the dog's experience of it as well. I mean, I don't think I would go as far without the dog, and I begin to see it through his eyes, which is different, and the joy of his running across the hills through the grass, all lend to our enjoyment of it. So it's not about dogs, but it's about both of us, and what his appreciation and what the landscape triggers in myself.
And so when you say what the landscape triggers in yourself, it's not necessarily about the landscape either, it's about your inner feelings.
Quite often it is about those, yes, about my own reflections, but they might also be to do with the landscape. and the geography of it and the history of it. So while reflections of my own life are interspersed within that, there are also, the more objective ideas about how the Downs came to be, and what is our place within them.
We hear quite a lot these days about the thinking landscape, so it's almost as though the landscape provokes your thoughts and you provoke the landscape's thoughts.
Yes, I think that's true. But I think perhaps what you're referring to is sentient landscape that has been described in Alan Warner. So the landscape is actually feeling and perhaps thinking as well. But perhaps you're also in mind of Nan Shepherd's idea of the thinking body, which is what she talks about in her book, The Moving Mountain. The thinking body being a kind of state of walking in which the two things of mind and body become one in the rhythm of walking. So it's a sort of not just the thinking landscape or the sentient landscape, but the thinking body itself.
Yes, I was trying to suggest that the two are woven together.
That would be nice. Yes, that's the idea, and that's the experience I think we have when we go there. That although we're very distinct, sort of in our at oneness with the landscape, that we learn more about ourselves.
Yes, and about the landscape.
And that, yes.
So it's a mutual.
It's a two-way process. Yes, it might. Yes.
Might be overstating it to say that the landscape learns about us, but that would be going too far, perhaps.
Maybe.
There have been two editions of this book, haven't there?
Yes.
One was considerably larger and published by Pavement Pounders, a firm of which you and I are directors. So that was our first effort with this, and it was so enormous actually we only had enough money to print 12 copies. It's since been a streamlined version which is now produced by Troubadour Press. About half the thickness, but still packed with illustrations and writing. If I wanted to buy a copy, where would I go?
You go to the Pavement Pounders website, or you go to Steep Street Cafe, Waterstones. There's a place in Hythe, Church Mouse I think it's called. The Information Centre in Dover should be stocking a copy, and also at the moment in the month of May is a continuing event for a month at the Folkestone Museum to commemorate the 40th anniversary of the North Downs Way and the 50th of the Kent Area of Outstanding Natural Beauty. So they also will have copies there.
And I understand